Welcome to Buckeyes Tomorrow Morning for Wednesday, August 7th. I'm your host, Tom Orr. The Akron game in 24 days, the game against Michigan in 115 days. As we count down the days to the start of the season, Ohio State slowly working its way through fall camp. Buckeyes were back on the practice field on Tuesday at the Woody Hayes Athletic Center. And then after practice, we got a chance to talk to new Ohio State offensive coordinator Chip Kelly and all 5 scholarship quarterbacks. So a lot of obviously interesting storylines there. Who will be the starting quarterback? Whenever that's a question, that's always the biggest questions, it feels like, around a football team this time of year. And that is still an open question around this year's Ohio State team. So let's start with Chip Kelly. Chip, is there a pecking order yet at quarterback?
No, we're just trying to, as I told the players, don't count your reps, make your reps count. And I think they're doing a good job, all of them. We're still kind of going through that. I would say probably towards the end of this week, we'll start to kind of hone in on it. But it's part of is when again, now the day of the lineup changes every day, like who's in with what group and just kind of mixing and matching right now. But we're all just trying to make the most of our reps be valuable because of how we're doing it. And a lot of it's 2 fields. So we got 2 different groups going on at the same time. And with 2 different groups going on at the same time, there's a bunch of reps to be had. You know, our first practice, I think we had 96 team reps in the first practice. So there's enough to go around right now. When we start to consolidate and stop doing the 2 field works and start to get into 1 field work, then I think you got to start to kind of cut the reps down for some people.
Will Howard is considered the favorite to win the starting quarterback job this fall. And the coaching staff has talked about the fact, Brian Day in particular, that he has seen more power on Will Howard's throws this fall than there was back in the spring. So is that something that Chip Kelly has seen as well?
Yeah, I do. And I just think it's when Will got here, both Will, Julian, and Air got here in January. You know, Lincoln and Devin had been here for a while. So sometimes zip is do you know what you're doing? You know, when you have confidence to get back there and I know the progression right away and I can rip it right now. Sometimes you're a little bit tentative, so the ball may not come off your hand the right way. But I've seen improvement from Will from where we were in the spring to where we were now.
After the spring game, Chip Kelly said the biggest compliment he could pay to a freshman like Julian Sayin was to say that he didn't look like a freshman out on the field, and that was the case for Julian Sayin this spring. Sounds like that is still something that Chip Kelly feels about Sayin right now.
He just stays in the moment. That's the one thing I like about him. He doesn't, if he throws a bad ball, it doesn't bother him. If he throws a good ball, he doesn't get overexcited and say, you know, hey, I just arrived. He's always thinking about the next snap, and he's done a really good job with it. You know, just not kind of playing into anything, just trying to stay present. And that's what we're trying to get with all these guys, is that just stay present, just stay in the moment. You know, this is the 5th training session. I'm not sure anybody knows what day it is right now, just because everything runs together. You don't have a day off in terms of weekends, Sunday, Mondays, or whatever it is. It's just, how do I get better in this period? And then right now, the next process is we got to go in and watch a film, and everything we just did on the field, we now got to process again. Was this a good decision? Was this a bad decision? Why did you make the decision? And then, all right, we're going to continue down this path, or no, we got to correct this.
The conversations went beyond just the quarterback position. Chip Kelly's teams, when you think about them at Oregon, you always think about speed, running the ball fast players. Chip Kelly equals speed. So how does this team stack up with some of Chip Kelly's previous ones?
Yeah, I mean, this team can run. You know, there's no Noah Lyles. But, I mean, he went 27-1 miles per hour. I mean, that was, we talked about that. Coach Day showed that in the meeting, you know, talked about where he was and how he finished. There was a great lesson there, but there's a lot of guys at a lot of positions that can run. And the guys that are the most impressive to me are the big guys that can really run. You know, we got some bigger guys. Will Howard's a great example. Will went 22 miles an hour this summer at 237 pounds. So we got a bunch of guys who can move.
If the starting quarterback is not the biggest question on the offensive side of the ball for the Buckeyes this year, well, then it is definitely going to be the offensive line. So what are Chip Kelly's impressions of the offensive line so far in fall camp?
I do see a making of a really good unit. And I think the first thing that I noticed is that whole group worked extremely hard with Mick in the summertime. So where they are physically, you know, they came to camp ready to play and ready to compete. And again, the reps part for every position, not only quarterback, but whether it be right guard, right tackle, whatever it is we're just rolling. We're just trying to get as much film on tape. You know, you hear and you forget, you see and you remember, you do and you understand. So how many reps can we get for our players so that they really, truly understand what we're doing? And that's what we're really trying to push through right now. Knock on wood, we've been really, really healthy so that we can continue to play at least 3 full groups right now. So everybody's getting a ton of reps and we're just rolling. And then we got to run in there as quick as possible, watch the tape as the coaches, and then get ready for our afternoon meetings, and then get ready for walk through at night. And then we, you know, kind of rinse and repeat. That's kind of that's where we are in this mode of camp right now. So
Mentioned we got to talk to all 5 scholarship quarterbacks on Tuesday. That is a rare treat. That is something we will probably not get a chance to do with some of these guys again until potentially a media day at a bowl or something like that. So let you hear a little bit from all 5 scholarship quarterbacks. Rather than show any sort of favoritism, we're just going to do this in order of seniority. We're going to start with 5th-year senior Will Howard. He has gotten his weight down from close to 250 pounds when he showed up in Columbus to something more like 230, 235. That was his goal. He has reached it at the start of fall camp. So how did he do it?
We sat down with Kayla, sat down with Coach Mick. If whether it was in the winter coming in on Saturdays, doing a little extra cardio, or just being cooking for myself a little more, which made me feel a little more like I'm like living alone. I feel like a little more grown up. It's kind of cool. Yeah, adulting a little bit. I was like, all right, I can make some chicken or make some of that. I kind of had fun with it. So it was cool. It was fun, and I just want to. It feels good, to eat well and to treat your body right, and I really learned how to do that here, and it's been really, really good for me.
Will Howard has seniority in terms of being the oldest guy in the quarterback room. Of course, he is not the longest tenured guy in the quarterback room. He had to make an adjustment to Ohio State this spring when he transferred in from Kansas State. So what was that adjustment to Ohio State like? Learning the new school, learning the new system, the new playbook? And when did Will Howard feel like it was really starting to click for him?
I feel like in the spring I was kind of at the beginning, at least, drinking from a fire hose a little bit, especially just with the way that the offense was installed. But I think that was good for me, kind of learning how to go through a spring or through a couple of practices without really having any prior experience with an offense and going through that, kind of the struggles that I had and the things that I learned from. I feel like I really started to settle in kind of like practice 7, practice 8 of the spring. I was like, okay, this is really making sense. I'm starting to kind of get my stride, and really now coming into fall camp, it's been like completely different. Just, the way, the amount of banked reps. And that's the thing is like, you can't replicate actually doing it. The only way to do it is to do it and to go out there and, in OTAs or in fall camp practices and getting reps and, having these reps from the spring banked and all these things that I've learned. It's helped me a lot this fall camp to just go out there and play more rather than think about things,
This is not the first time that Will Howard has had to learn a new system. He, of course, had to do that when he was a new true freshman at Kansas State. So what's the difference between learning a new system now as a potential starter versus as a freshman, where there may not have been quite the same type of urgency to have everything really locked down before day 1 of the season?
Yeah, it's different. It's obviously you're coming into a new system, you're having to learn things, but it's a lot faster. And the way I looked at it, it was, if my goal is ultimately to make it to the NFL, this is what I'm going to have to do at the next level. So I think it was a really good opportunity for me to learn how to learn fast and how to pick things up. And I think Coach Kelly and Coach Day have done a really good job of just making things easy to understand and easy to pick up. And the more reps I've gotten, the more comfortable I've become. So, it's been great. And the more that I just throw to these receivers and just get around these guys, the more we're coming together and becoming a team. And it's cool to see. And we just got to keep doing it and keep practicing as hard as we have been.
Lots of different people have shared their thoughts on Will Howard and how he's looked this fall and how he's played this fall. Let's hear directly from Will Howard. How would he evaluate his play so far this fall?
I think I've done a pretty good job protecting the football and being smart with my decisions. I think that I want to continue to push the ball down the field when I have opportunities to, and be accurate down the field and get some more air on my deep balls. Those are just a couple things that I've thought about personally, but I think one of the bigger things is what are we doing as a team? And obviously, I'm thinking about myself and how I can be better, but the bigger thing is how can we be better as a team, and how can I facilitate that being the quarterback? How can I encourage somebody, before we go out there to remind them, hey, if it's a running back, make sure on 6 on whatever protection, you got these guys. Doing things like that is something I want to continue to grow in for my team, because that's at the end of the day, all 11 guys have to do their job every single play, and being the quarterback, you kind of have to facilitate that a little bit and help those guys and make sure that, we're being the best team we can be.
Next up is Devin Brown, his third year at Ohio State, still battling for the starting quarterback job. Where has Devin Brown seen the most improvement in his own game this year, even just during fall camp?
I would say just consistency. Honestly, working with Jordan Palmer and Mike White out in California this offseason, I think that's been a huge help for me, being more consistent with my mechanics and everything. And so throwing the ball, I feel a lot more consistent.
Devin Brown has a little bit of a different perspective on things than a lot of those guys in the Ohio State quarterback room who were not on campus last year. Last year, the offensive line was a major concern, a big, big problem that they were talking about openly, and there was still a lot of uncertainty on that line. How different is that offensive line now compared to last year?
I feel like there's just a different energy from the O-line. We could see it in the weight room, just from even in the winter, especially in the summer, the way that they act with each other and the violence and just the presence that they bring. You can tell that there's something different because, they're kind of tired of hearing all this noise of that they didn't do this or that, and they're ready to get after it this year.
Devin Brown and a lot of the other quarterbacks will talk about consistency and the importance of consistency as a quarterback. But what does that mean? What does consistency look like on the field? Sure, you're going to have to be an accurate passer, but where else does something like that show up?
Just decisions in the run game. Obviously, like you said, accuracy. Being my third year in the offense and knowing the system better and knowing this defense better for having a second year with this defense or third year with this defense now, I can anticipate things better and know where to go.
And last one for Devin Brown, Chip Kelly, known for running the ball, running the quarterback. So how different are things this year with Chip Kelly now running the offense at Ohio State?
Yeah, the run game has been completely different. It's been incredible. And, when we got two running backs like Quinshawn and Travion, and then you got lots of quarterbacks that can run the ball, it makes it really hard on the defense. And so Coach Kelly really utilizes us and utilizes our running backs. So there's always an option for either of us to go.
Next up is Lincoln Kienholz. He is entering his second year in Columbus and his second year as a college football player. He sort of got thrown into the fire a little bit during the Cotton Bowl when Kyle McCord transferred out and then Devin Brown got hurt. And then Lincoln Kienholz was kind of the next man up and probably, even at the time talked about the fact that he wasn't really, truly ready to get thrown into that kind of moment as someone who enrolled late last summer and did not have the benefit of going through spring ball with the Buckeyes as a freshman. So how different does Lincoln Kienholz feel now as compared to when he got thrown on the field at the Cotton Bowl?
I feel way different. I feel way more comfortable than I did. I'd say just like with protections and just the concepts that we ran. I feel more calm, I'd say, in the pocket, and honestly just overall more confident.
One of the things that has probably helped Lincoln Kienholz's game develop quite a bit since the Cotton Bowl is the arrival of Chip Kelly, one of the nation's foremost quarterback gurus and offensive minds. How much has Lincoln Kienholz gotten out of working with Chip Kelly?
Yeah, I think it's important. I think it's special because we have two of the best coaches just in the country, with Coach Day and Coach Kelly. I'd say with Coach Kelly, he's been everywhere. He's been NFL. He's been to multiple colleges. So I think his level of understanding of just the game and football in general is something that each quarterback here can take away and can learn from. And I'd say in the couple of years to come, I think that we can all be in a chance to go start anywhere, like here or anywhere in the country, so.
Next up is Noland. He was originally going to be the only quarterback in Ohio State's 2024 recruiting class before the Buckeyes made a late addition to the transfer portal. We'll get to him in a minute, but coming in as a freshman, Noland, you're probably not going to be the starter day one. So how do you approach things coming in knowing, this is maybe going to be a little bit of a process before you get on the field for meaningful first series of the game kind of snaps?
I would say just know to come in and be ready to be developed. And, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard days and there's going to be days where it's good days. So just, going through the ups and downs and just keeping myself composed and just leaning on guys and leaning on the older guys and helping me out.
Noland had a very interesting answer on the stuff that he's learned from Chip Kelly. And this is, probably a good sense for what quarterbacks as a true freshman are really coming in and trying to focus on and try to figure out. This was a good answer from Noland and what he's learned from Chip Kelly so far.
Yeah, Chip talks about having a plan walking up to the line, so I have to have a plan every time I walk up to the line and knowing the how and knowing the why and then just knowing my read, knowing if it's a corner read, and then just the game slows down with Coach Chip Kelly. You know, he teaches me a lot of things, not only on the field but also off the field.
And finally, the latest quarterback to arrive at Ohio State, Julian Sayin. Now, he showed up at Alabama. He enrolled at Alabama. Showed up at Alabama mid-December, actually went through bowl prep with the Crimson Tide as they were preparing for their Rose Bowl game against Michigan. But then when Nick Saban retired, Julian Sayin decided to leave. He said Nick Saban was a really big part of his decision to go to Alabama. So when Nick Saban left, well, that kind of eliminated that. So what made Ohio State the pick for him after he decided to leave Alabama?
Yeah, when I entered the portal, I knew Coach Day. We had a good relationship throughout the recruiting process. And then Bill O'Brien was actually the offensive coordinator here, and I had a good relationship with him. And then I ended up getting here, and then Coach Kelly comes here, and me and him had a good relationship through the recruiting process, California, UCLA. So it was just a good fit all around, and I just couldn't be happy to be here.
And finally, coaches, when they talk about Julian Sayin, a lot of times will talk about his ability to process information quickly. Is that a natural gift that he has? Where does that come from?
I think it's kind of a lot of things. And I was always around football. My brother's a quarterback at Penn, so he was a quarterback when I was in high school, and I was kind of following his footsteps. So I've always been around football, and then just been a high-level offense since high school, and just really just having a lot on my plate.
Well, there you go. A little bit of all 5 scholarship quarterbacks at Ohio State, plus Chip Kelly. A lot to hear, a lot to learn. Really interesting to talk to some of those guys. We haven't gotten a chance to talk to a lot of those guys since the spring game, and in some cases even before that. So great chance to kind of take a little bit of a deep dive on the quarterbacks on Tuesday. Wednesday, we're going to be right back at the Woody Hayes Athletic Center. This is going to be, I think, the busiest interview week of the entire year. Got a chance to talk quarterbacks on Tuesday. Wednesday, we're going to be back talking to running backs, talking to linebackers. Should be a lot of interesting information to talk about there. Have that all to look forward to. That's going to be coming to you probably 11:30-ish on Wednesday. We'll be streaming some of that stuff live for you. Have more of it coming up later on YouTube and on our board at BuckeyeHuddle.com. Make sure you are subscribed on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/BuckeyeHuddle. Make sure you've hit that bell so you get notified when we do those live streams. We're going to typically have a live recap show for you after that. Lots of interesting information coming up this week. We have interviews on Tuesday, as we talked about, and just now, Wednesday. Thursday, we're supposed to be in watching practice again, plus more interviews on Friday. It is going to be a very, very busy, very exciting week at BuckeyeHuddle.com and YouTube.com/BuckeyeHuddle. So make sure you join us there in both places as we preview the 2024 Ohio State football season. That'll do it for today. Thank you guys all for joining us. Have a great day. We'll talk to you tomorrow.